All right, Coach Cruce, the offense coordinator at the University of North Alabama, is here. Coach, thanks for being here. Like I said, we just recorded a podcast, I think, for 20 minutes before this. We could have done that.
Coach Steve, appreciate you having me on, man. Glad to be on, brother.
Yeah, your defense coordinator said to get you on. He sends me a message, goes, you got to get this guy on. And I was like, all right, let's do it.
Coach Kerbo is a phenomenal man. He's a heck of a ball coach. He's got a bright future ahead of him for sure. And I love getting to work with him every day. That's for sure.
I would hate to coach against him, though. He seems like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
Oh, he knows. And he knows it all the time. Like, he'll sit at a restaurant and just draw stuff up on napkins all the time. I'm sure his wife, Katie, gets so ticked off going out to eat with him because he's always thinking balls. So he is very sharp for sure.
Oh, my wife hates that too. Because I coach football, basketball, and softball.
So it never turns off for you.
It never turns off. Like, we're in softball season right now, but the head coach is awesome. Our spring break starts this week. He goes, I do nothing over spring break, guys. There's no games. There's no practice. He goes, so you don't get divorced, Steve. And I was like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Keep the marriage alive. That's for sure.
Yeah, keep the marriage alive. But football still doesn't stop. Like especially for me, I was talking to a coach earlier today. I got the OC spot in March.
Congratulations.
Thanks, but it was kind of sudden so he's like, all right, you got to get your offensive manual. He wants like a manual typed up, the system typed up. He needs this. You got to meet with the coaches. And I was like, oh, okay. While I'm in softball season. He's like, yeah, you'll figure it out. Essentially, he's like, you'll figure it out.
You'll go with no sleep.
Oh, that happened. I had a softball game, and I said, guys, let's meet at 6:30. I have a home softball game. Let's come meet at 6:30 so I could show everything that I want and explain everything. Mm-hmm. I would say we were there till about 8:30, and then our new O-line guy stayed back because he had a lot of questions of like, because I was the O-line coach, and he's like, what did you do? And we talked. Next thing I know, it's like 10:15 at night, and I'm like, I have to go home. and I live like 30 minutes or so away. I'm like, I gotta go home.
There's another day tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah, I was like, tomorrow I have to come back here to work. And we have a game again, like another game. So I need to go home.
That's exactly right.
So it never shuts off. And then like typing up that manual, I couldn't just do it at school. I had to do it at home.
Yeah.
But she was awesome. She knew I wanted to be an OC again, and I was doing it and sitting there, and she goes, what are you doing? I was like, I got to type this up. I want to put up video clips. And she was like, okay. So I was like, oh, thank God. Because, it could go the other way of like, why are you doing football at home?
That's exactly right. I mean, it's great to have supportive spouses for sure. Mine has been with me and been through a lot of stuff. And she is it's crazy because as a coach's wives have to be really independent, especially when you get family and kids involved. I mean, they run them every which way and handle everything. And the dynamic changes is when football season ends and you're able to have a little bit more time at home. Uh-huh. And then as a football coach, you got to find your place at home because they've taken over the house. They're running everything, organizing everything. And there's that little bit of tension where now, how do I fit back into this family?
Yeah. Because we're expecting our first kid in September, believe it or not. And so
congratulations again.
Thanks. But there's two things to this. Number one, we got married in the fall over a year ago. So it wasn't planned out right. And the head coach was like, you can never get married again. So I'll let you be married in the fall. That was a coach sin, but she's the boss. So I said, okay, we'll get married here. Now we're having a kid in the fall. And he was like, man, you can't plan things out right, can you? And I was like, no, you cannot.
Not at all. Well, we had our third kid in September of 2019. So I know exactly. Our first two kids were born, one in the winter and then both of them in the winter. So after football season, but the third one, he was technically an unplanned blessing, and but he ended up being right in the middle of SmackDown football season. So
yeah, so I already told the head coach, I was like, I think week 2 I may not be there. The due date's like right as that week starts or something, and he was like, again, you can't have another kid in the fall. The head coach is awesome because he has 4 kids, so he gets it. He's like, He told me one of his kids was born in the fall too at one point. So he's like, I get it.
You get one freebie.
He's like, you get one freebie. Next time you got to plan it out better. And he goes, but you're not taking your maternity leave till after football season, right? And I said, of course. I said, basketball can be put on hold. I said, football's not being put on hold.
Yeah, that's exactly okay. Right.
So I can't plan things out right, is what I've come to the conclusion of. So, but Coach, let's talk about you for a second. You know, you're at North Alabama. How'd you get into coaching? What made you want to do it? And how did you end up there?
Well, man, when I played college ball, I played at a small NAI high school, Lambeth University. That doesn't have football anymore, but is now a satellite campus for the University of Memphis. And it got its name in a sense because, of course, that was where Hugh Freeze got his first head coaching job.
Yep.
I was not lucky enough to be able to play for him. My senior year was the year right before Hugh came in. So when I graduated there, I kind of had different, I guess you could say, pathways to go down. I was debating on whether I was going to go get my doctorate and teach in philosophy. I have a philosophy and religion degree. Or I had an opportunity. I had a couple of former high school head coaches that I played for that had reached out to me, and they wanted me to come coach ball with them at the high school level. And I kind of came to the point, well, you know, what God has in store for me and ministry side of it, I'll go and see what coaching's like. And so I got into high school coaching, was an assistant for 4 years at the actually rival of my alma mater, high school. So that was interesting, going back home and coaching for the rival. But was lucky to be there for 4 years, and in those 4 years won a state championship. So definitely blessed to take that spot as an early coach for sure in my early career. And then I took the plunge after 4 years there. I took the plunge to being a head coach, and I took over a school that was that had 37 game losing streak. And, you know, thought I could solve the world, and I was going to come in and be the next Bear Bryant in a sense and turn the program around, and was rudely awakened that first year. We lost all 10 of our games the first year, but did a lot of good things building the program. And then I stayed there for 4 years and built them into a program that was actually playoff contending. And so did some really good things there. The year after I left, which I didn't get to reap any of the rewards there, they actually made the playoffs and won the first round playoff game. So those guys that had developed into what we wanted to develop into for sure.
Right.
And then I stayed in high school ball I took another high school gig in Arkansas. So I traveled into Arkansas a little bit. And coached there for 2 years. And that was kind of where I met up with Coach Dearman. Coach Dearman was offensive coordinator at Arkansas Tech. He and I actually were rivals in college. He played at Bethel University, and I played at Lambeth. And so we played against each other for 3 of his 4 years there. And so we got to talk a little bit about that. We talked ball. We sat out on a picnic table outside the school for about 2.5 hours one time when he was recruiting. And so we got a close connection there. And when he got the head job at Bethel, he offered me a spot there. So I followed him to Bethel. I was there for 3 there in West Tennessee. And then I kind of left the college game to go back into high school a little bit. We had just had our 3rd child, kind of finding what we wanted to do, kind of where really God wanted me to be. I stayed in high school for 2 years. I was an assistant right after Bethel at a powerhouse there in West Tennessee, Henry County High School. And then took a head job right north of Memphis in Brighton High School. And then thought I was going to actually be there for a while, getting back into the head coaching gig. But I told my wife the only time I would leave was if Coach Dearman got a Division I head job and offered me a job, and he did. And so came to North Alabama with him. And I guess the spring of 23, winter of 22, and been here ever since, man. Been a blessing.
Yeah, that's a journey right there from high school to college, then back to high school. Yes, you don't hear that very often. You hear one or the other.
I actually thought bunch of my coaching buddies that I talked with, I debated on it because I could have stayed at Bethel. I could have stayed there, and it wasn't necessarily that that we went through the last year that I was there at Bethel was the COVID year. So it was NAI did a weird thing where we played half the conferences played in the fall, and then half of them played in the spring, and our conference decided to play in the spring. So we actually had like 30, I think I counted it up. I think it was like 33 practices in the fall, and we practiced all the time during the fall, but we ended up playing in the spring, played our spring season. And I could have stayed there. It just felt like it was the best move for my family and I to get back into high school for a little bit. But I talked with a bunch of my college guys, and I was concerned with going back into high school, not being able to get back up into the college game. But at the end of the day, I knew that God was going to put me where he wanted me. And so he opened the door back up, and I am where I am right now. So blessed for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome because, like I said, I always hear about guys go right into college and then it doesn't work, and then they go to high school and it feels better, or vice versa. Like they're in high school and they get the opportunity to go to college and they do, and they love it. And because in college they don't have to worry about painting the field and dealing with this and recruiting and stuff. Now, this was before name, image, and likeness, mind you. This is way before all the craziness has happened. But this was old school. Like, okay, yeah, I just recruit, and it's long hours, but in high school I don't have to deal with answering to boosters and this and then teaching and then this. Like, I can just focus on, like, a lot of them say I don't work. Like, I'm just doing football. Like, I just work. I don't work.
Most definitely. It's got its different. It's got its different cons, both of them. From the high school's perspective, being in the class, you're a teacher and a coach. As far as I'm certified in math and English, so I knew that if I ever got fired coaching, I could always still teach. But because everybody's looking for math teachers, but it's got its different cons. With you're having to do lesson plans and keep grade books up to date in the high school level, as well as making sure your practice plans are together, and making sure you have coaching meetings, and making sure that you have parent meetings with the different times of the year, making sure calendars are out, budgets, and everything like that. And then the college level, it's got this. You just find time with other things, as far as there's a lot more meeting time with coaches to make sure drills are prepared the right way, that you're doing the right things in the classroom, teaching kids, installing wise, making sure you're preparing the right materials for them. You just get I guess you get a little bit more specialized in that sense.
Right.
The high school, it's a lot more torn in a lot of jobs, where in the college world, you're a lot more specialized in what you're supposed to be doing football wise. So,
yeah. And we're all coaching multiple sports too. That's the other thing.
That's exactly right. My first head football coaching job, I was assistant baseball coach. So, you're exactly right. You're torn a lot of different ways at the high school level, for sure.
Oh yeah, because like I said, I do all three. So it never turns off, and then the summer hits, and June's the busiest because you're trying to do basketball camp and you're trying to do football camp. We don't do anything softball wise in the summer, which is awesome, but still you're trying to balance the football stuff, the basketball stuff, and then now becoming the OC, it's going to be even more response. Like when I was just the O-line coach, oh cool, I got the run games down. Don't worry guys, I got this part down. Yeah. Now it's going to be everything, because I was an OC once before, but I was 22, so you think you know everything, and
you look back and you say you really didn't know anything at all. You're exactly right, man.
Well, I think back on it, like head coaches can prepare you for things, but I think there's things they can't really prepare you for. Like they can tell you, they can say whatever.
Yes, sir.
But you don't know it until you do it. So now I know, like I've been around some good head coaches. I've been around some bad ones. Like, and I've been around some bad staffs, but I've been very blessed since I moved up to the suburbs, been around nothing but any staff I've been on. I've been at 3 different football high schools. They've all been awesome. So you learn things. And so now this second time around, the way I've already organized everything, I'm like 22-year-old Steve wouldn't have done this, but now 34-year-old Steve is really doing this like you.
100%.
it's maturity, it's learning, it's trial by fire, and those type of things.
And that's a sign of a good coach is growing. You know what I mean? Is being able to see things that you've either been a part of or things you've done yourself, and being able to adapt and evolve and change and find the best ways to get things across, especially from a coordinator's perspective, being able to really manage people more, because as a position coach, you're more or less managing players. But when you get into that coordinating role or head coaching role, it's more or less managing grown adults, trying to get them on the same page so they're teaching the same things that you want them to be taught.
Right, because that happened the first time I was the OC, and it was a bad time. Let's put it this way. I was the only one not born and raised in that town that was on staff. Like, everybody there had gone to that high school. Everybody there had some ties, and I'm this guy I just kept hearing this over and over, like, well, we used to do it this way, or this is how we did it. And, at one point, I think I finally said, well, where's all your state title trophies at? Like, being a jerk, but it's like, okay, like, I didn't want to do that, but again, I'm young. You don't know any better. Yeah. Not saying that's an excuse, like you should know better, but you just don't. Or I remember a coach started yelling at me on the field and all that stuff. So I've been a part of all that. So ever since that moment, it's like, okay, we don't argue on the field. We can argue in the office. That's what it's there for. And it's not really arguing, it's more of passion. We're all alpha males,
Constructive discussion.
Yes. That has happened a couple of times. I've been at Addison since 2020. That's happened a couple of times. Yeah. And sometimes it comes out on the field, but not like that. It's more of competitiveness on the field. Then when you're in the office, it comes down to like, why are we running or not why we're running this, but like, this doesn't work. And then you start going, like I had a staff meeting last week. Like I said, it lasted about 2 hours, 3 hours. And I think one of the final things I said was, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's coach's expectations. And like the first thing I put on there was, make sure I'm held accountable. And I looked at them all. I was like, make sure I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. Make sure I'm not adding things that I shouldn't be adding, or like moving too fast. Like, this is your guys' job to make sure I don't do this. And then I went into like what they do, right? Like, hey, we stay in our lane. Like, running backs coach, you're not going to go tell the O-line what to do. You're not going to, it's one thing to talk to a kid, but you're not doing things behind the O-line coach's back. I said, there's only two people that are going to say anything, and it's me and the head coach. And I said, and me, I won't do it on the field. He goes, yeah, I might coach a kid there, but I'm not going to do anything that we already don't know, blah, 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 blah. And, but the biggest thing was holding me accountable. So you see me doing something or not doing something that I said that we should do, you got to pull me aside and say, Steve, like, this is what we talked about. And I already told him, okay, cool. I get it. I need to start doing what we're supposed to do. Because we all do. We all kind of fall off from time to time, and we got to get drawn back in. But like, our running back coach played at Penn State. Then he had a cup of coffee with the Bears. So like he's like, Steve, I have no problem telling you. And I was like, perfect.
You don't mind having those tough conversations, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, no. He's like, I have no problem telling you and making sure we're all good. But like, we're gonna have a young O-line coach. He's already said, like, I'm not gonna step on anybody's toes. I just want to make sure the O-line's right. Yeah. But young wide receivers coach, he's like, I just want to make sure that this is right. The head coach is like, don't worry, Steve. Pats me on the back. Goes, I'll tell you when you screw up.
Thank you. Thanks, boss.
Yeah, I was like, thanks for that. And he was like, and then I looked at the freshman coach, who's our strength guy. I was like, and you're my get back guy, making sure I'm not getting on the field too much. And he's like, I got exactly you. He's like, I got you. Because the strength coach at Northwestern, you've seen him, cut off sleeves, and it's 10 degrees outside. He interned for him. So now our strength guy does that. He's always in cutoffs. He takes our polos and cuts the sleeves off.
That's funny.
And he's out there with no sleeves on. Our playoff game 2 years ago, it was like snowing, and he's in sleeves, and we're all in jackets. And he was like, nope.
Not doing it. He's keeping the thing going, man. He's keeping it going.
He's in a short sleeve. He's in a cutoff with a cowboy hat on. I don't know why a cowboy hat, but that's what he has on, and that's on our sideline. And it's awesome. I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like, and they all get cold more than I do. Like, I'm a true O-lineman. I played O-line. I don't get, like, you don't wear sleeves. Coaching, now I've adapted, but still, they all get cold before I do. When it was snowing, I'm in everything. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Do the kids feed off of it?
Some did, and then you got some that are like, my hands are cold, and I'll say this: the O-line didn't. The O-line was like, "Why are you guys in sleeves?" And I was like, "All right, you guys have picked up what I put down." Like,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I had an O-lineman wear sleeves one time, and I never stopped making fun of him to this day. I was like, he graduated now, and if he'll come by to practice from time to time, I'm like, remember you wore sleeves that one time? And I have other colorful words, but I'm like, remember when you wore sleeves?
Always reminding him, keep him in check.
Yeah, because I told them, I said, guys, I remember being a freshman or sophomore. I had sleeves on one time. I went out for one series. I come back to the trainer, and I was like, cut these sleeves off because I can't do it. Like, it's not happening. And I said, ever since
I was just gonna say, every time I think about now, I guess you with sleeves cut off in the cold, or those the clips you see of guys trying to bear the toughness with the cold or whatever. You think of the Tennessee Ohio State game, and those old linemen showed up. They were all showing up in Columbus trying to show they were ready for the cold.
They were not.
They were not at all. They were not. Ohio State brought a little something different for them. That's for sure.
Yeah, maybe the whole line was ready, but not everybody else was ready. They were not. And I like Tennessee. I like their offense. I like Coach Heupel, what he's doing. But yeah, that particular day, I'm not an Ohio State fan at all. And nothing that gets to what they do. You grow up in the Big Ten, and you're like,
yep.
You don't like Ohio State, which is fine. But I can't disregard what they did. But man, they were ready to go that day.
They sure were. They sure were, man.
Ever since they lost to Michigan, they were ready to go.
It flipped a switch for them, that's for sure. It flipped a switch.
Yeah, no, because I'm an Illinois guy, so we're not allowed to like. I'm not saying U of I has a great football history, but they're turning it around. Coach Bielema's doing a good job. So
I'm gonna tell you what, those uniforms U of I had this year when they went the old school leather helmet uniforms. I thought those were really sweet. They did the helmet paint on them was phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I didn't know they were going to do that. They kept that kind of quiet until like that week, and then they showed it. And then when they showed it on TV, I was like, "Oh, this took a lot of time." And they said that it's like I forget how long it took. It took them like 2 years or 3 years to get this. Like,
I don't doubt it, because the details on it were. Because when you can see clips of either plays they were running with them on or whatever, but when you look at it, just not knowing what it is, you look at it, my goodness, they look like leather helmets. They were really detailed. That's for sure.
I would love to have a replica one, but I don't want to shell out the money to get.
I'm sure that if you were willing to pay whatever, I'm sure they'd send you one.
I talked to Coach Miller, their O-line coach, from time to time. I should see if he can't swindle me one for a little cheap.
Yeah, that's exactly, a little discount.
I mean, I will not pay $300, but I'll show him $100. Like, hey, give me one.
Give him a shout out.
Well, I play NCAA. They're on there. Like, those uniforms are on there, and it's awesome. It looks cool. Yeah. It's because the game is awesome. It updates like every week when they do something. So those uniforms came out like the next week. It was on there, and it's awesome. So, see, this is a rabbit hole. It's Joe Rogan. Whatever's talked about.
We follow it down, man.
Have you always coached offense, or since you were in the high school game, did you get to dab your toe in some defense, or was it just?
Well, it's funny. So I played offense. In high school, you play both of them, whatever. Was an offensive player in college. When I took the first assistant job in Union City, I stayed primarily on the offensive side. I coached a little defense also because it was a small 1A school, so you had to kind of coach both. You know how that is. But then my third and fourth years there, my third year I was the co-defensive coordinator, and then my fourth year there I was actually the defensive coordinator. So I spent time that whole season on the defensive side of the ball. And then when I got into my head coaching roles, I pretty much stayed on the offensive side except for my last head coaching gig. It was the weirdest scenario. So I took the head coaching job in Brighton, and was able to kind of bring some guys on staff. Well, I was going to be the offensive guy. I was going to call the plays offensively, whatever. We went through the whole spring trying to bring guys in. Had hired a couple of, had kind of gotten into terms with a couple of guys to be the defensive coordinators, and they did not accept. And then I ended up hiring a guy that took over as my defensive coordinator. And about 3 weeks before we started the season, we'd gone through spring ball, we'd gone through summer installs, everything like that. He got an opportunity to go be an assistant at a D3 school in Georgia. And so he called me, he said, "Hey, I know you're not going to like me, but I'm fixing to take an assistant job at a Division III school." And I said, "Man, I'm not ever going to be mad at you for taking an opportunity when it's provided to you." I said, "Now it does put me in a bind, but I said we'll make it work." And so because of that year, I ended up taking over as the defensive coordinator. And so I was defensive coordinator that year, and I had to train some guys up that were really younger offensively to try to handle the offensive side of the ball. But that was a tough year. I'll tell you that. It was because I'd spent, I guess up until that point, I'd been 12 years just on the offensive side of the ball. And I mean, hey, as a head coach, you're always on both sides, but you're not as well-versed in terminology and kind of how new things are being taught. You're just not as specialized in the defensive side of the ball as defensive coordinators and defensive position coaches are. So you could sit down and have a cup of coffee with the defensive coach, but you couldn't get on the whiteboard with them and diagnose everything. And so it was a tough year trying to get back into the defensive side of the ball there.
Do you feel like coaching defense helped you out with offense, like when you were on that side?
100%. It helped. When I, as an assistant, the first time that I took over as a defensive coach, it gave me a better full understanding of what defensive coaches' main goals are in the numbers game, understanding truly how they try to fit run fits, how the top end and the front marry together. It just gave a better understanding for me from an offensive standpoint on how we want to attack things and how we want to exploit people that may be in conflict. So it most definitely did.
That happened to me too. I walked on to Eastern and quickly realized that first year, maybe I'm not a college football player because it's just, wanted to be a lineman. I was too small, these big dudes, and you're like, maybe this isn't for me. So you start coaching. You're like, the next thing is coaching.
Yep.
My head coach was fired, so I went to the school in Charleston and Illinois, and the defense coordinator became the head coach. And I went up and talked to him, and he goes, "I'll let you know tomorrow what my staff's going to be." So he goes, "Hey, you'll come coach, but you're going to do linebackers, running backs, and you're going to be the JV defensive play caller, and you're going to work with the varsity defense coordinator on Friday nights." And I looked at him and I said, "Well, I'm an O-line coach, D-line coach, and I like offense." And he was like, "That's cool. You're doing running backs, linebackers, and you're young, so you're kind of immature about it. You're like, wait a minute, what?" And it was the best thing because then it kind of opens your mind up a little bit of defense and different positions on offense. And he said, if you want to be a head coach, OC, you got to do this stuff. And so I remember doing that. And then like the next year doing like wide receivers, helping out there. And then you're helping out like corners and safeties and stuff. So you kind of learn it all. And then, but I also helped me realize I'm an offensive guy too. So while I was doing it, I'm like, I'm stupid. Like I'm really stupid, but offense just is easier for me to understand. I was like, I did not like school. Now I got A's, I got B's and A's, but I was a kid, like school's not everybody's favorite thing, but I was like, yeah, offense, somebody can draw up offense. You could give me offensive terminology that you're doing. I could kind of pick up on it. It's like defense, you guys do your thing. Like, I don't know. Like,
well, I'll get in the Coach Caravello's office, and we'll start talking every now and then. And I mean, he will just start going to town, just tearing up a marker because he is just whipping out on a whiteboard. And I say, and that, I mean, I'll have to say, all right, so tell me this. All right, I get the concept, but tell me what your terminology, this word right here, what are you saying that is? And then I have to put it into the general concept that I know of. But at the same time, he's so well versed in his system, and defensive guys are so well versed in their systems that, I mean, it's hard to carry on a conversation with them very in depth for sure, because they get into it deep. That rabbit hole you're talking about, they can follow a rabbit hole far.
Yeah. When I have defensive guys come on here, I have to ask them very stupid questions and try to like get into it, because if they start, especially college guys, you guys start rambling off, and I'm like, hold on a second, time out, let's pause the brakes for a second, because I got to catch up in what you're trying to do. But then they're like, yeah, but it's real simple, and you start doing. I'm like, I'm not saying it's not, and I'm not saying it's good, but for me, that's not simple. I got to study that for a second. Like offense, I don't need much studying time to like figure that out. It's our head coach is a defensive guy, so sometimes I say offensive things. He goes, "You damn offensive guy." He goes, "You have it so easy." And I told him that. I said, I never really lost sleep over a game until I started helping out on defense. Then I started to, and I wasn't even calling the stuff. I was just assistant. And I'm like, how are we going to stop them? What happens if this happens? And, you know, that's coming from the days where you don't want to give up any points. Like back in the day. That's
exactly right. Now it's just, let's hold them to 3 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns. Exactly right.
That's amazing, because, like, as an offensive guy, obviously you score 3 touchdowns, you're like, we're doing good. Defense is like, hey, we should have to make that one stop. It's okay, we've given up 21, 28 points. And it's like, or like, I believe in 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Like, whatever gets us 3 to 5 yards, we're going to keep.
Love it. Yep.
Defensive guys like, hey, they only got 3 yards, they only got 4 yards. And so it's very, especially our head coach, because he's a defensive guy. So when another team only gets 3 yards, we're like, yeah, there you go. Then when we get 3 yards, he's like, yeah, keep it going.
He's got enough faith in the offense that with that 4th and 1, he's going to still run it or call it. But he's got faith enough in the defense that when they get that 4th and 1, they're going to punt it. So
yeah, I guess that could happen. But it's just real funny from when you watch it from the, observing it.
You're exactly right.
Because the head coach will, especially now, because our OC, a buddy of ours in the school got a head golf job, and so our offense corner is going to be his assistant golf coach. Okay. So that's kind of where this happened. So the head coach is real involved of like, he's not telling me what to do at all. He's just kind of like, make sure we can run the ball, make sure that, we have these motions. Like, I want to see this. I want to see this. I'm like, cool. Like, I've been preparing for this for a long time. Just let me put it into words and different terminology, and, we're good to go. And I presented it, and he likes it, but he's very involved. But it's funny because then he's like, hey, you just gotta get 3 yards, man. You just gotta get 3 yards. And then I watch him talk to our defense coordinator, like, well, we gotta be able to tackle him here and here. And one point I said, wait a minute, you told me just to get 3 yards. He goes, yeah, but
he's gotta play both sides, man.
He's gotta play both sides.
That's exactly right.
And we get along, but I'll piss him off. Like, when something happens, I'll go, man, sounds like a head coaching problem. And I walk away. I'm like, sounds like a head problem.
Leave that to him. Let him deal with that. That's exactly right.
And I used to say this too, like, oh, it sounds like an OC problem. And then now that I can do that.
Now that's your problem.
Now it's my problem.
That's exactly right.
That's what he said. He's like, now you got to realize you make the practice plan. You do this, you do this. Because I used to say, oh, they'll type it up. I'll just type in my O-line. Like, because O-line, we're down in our own little world. Like, our OC was awesome. He was like, Steve, you do whatever you want today in practice. Like, whatever you want to do, you got it. Everybody else, he would tell what to do. He kind of just left me alone, which was awesome. And now I can't. It's not going to be like that anymore, because now microscope's on me now. So it's like, I can't just do what I want.
You're exactly right.
Because the head coach said that too. Because when we found out he was going to take this golf thing, I heard it from word of mouth. So I texted the head coach. I was like, hey, I heard this. He goes, yeah, we got to talk tomorrow. And I was like, oh, shoot. So we talked for like 2.5 hours. And he said, I just don't want to add more to your plate, Steve. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I'm the speed coach too, so I'm going to try to get us faster. He's like, you're doing that. He's like, you coach 3 sports, and you coach O-line, which is arguably the hardest position to coach. He's like, so to ask you to call plays and organize this is just going to be so much more on you. And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, but it's football. Like you'll figure it out. So he goes, yeah, you'll coach quarterbacks this year. So you're able to like do it. And I was like, okay. I coached quarterbacks before. And I said, okay. I said, but man, how boring is it to coach quarterbacks after you do O-line?
Oh, so he wouldn't let you keep the O-line. He made you coach quarterbacks. So
there's a couple of reasons for it. One, he's a senior quarterback that I had as a freshman basketball player, and he's a good relationship. And they call me the whisperer to him, like you're the whisperer. Like you can get him to calm down, or you have this relationship. So it was kind of funny that way. He's like, you got to be quarterbacks to like coach him up. I said, okay. He was the offensive player of the year last year for our conference. So it's like you have to, and with the changes we're making in the pass game and stuff like that, like you have to be with him because you know it.
Yeah.
And he just wanted off my plate. He's like, I feel like you coaching O-line and dealing with all that, then trying to deal with. He's like, if you're with the quarterbacks, you're going to be with the receivers, you'll be with the running backs, so you can kind of control that.
100%.
The head coach, he'll go down and make sure the O-line is doing what they're supposed to do with our young O-line coach. He's like, that's kind of where his role will come in. Like, hey, don't worry, during offensive time, I'll make sure that all this is going well. You make sure that's going well. Say he does that with our defensive coordinator too. Like during defense time, he makes sure that everything's going the way it's supposed to do. And
are you an on the field caller, or are you gonna be up in the box?
I'll be on the field. I tried when I was the first OC. I was like, I'll go to the box. Because when I was helping out the defense, I was in the box anyway. So I was like, I kind of like it up here, you know. Then I'm calling plays for the first 2 games. Like, this sucks. I want to be on the field. I want to be a part of like the flow. I want to be
feel it.
And again, one of those things where then I started not to trust what was being said to the players on the sideline. Which is awful feeling. So you're like, I'll just go to the field, and I'll do the same thing this year. I think is just the way we're going to do it this year.
Well, it's probably best, especially with that quarterback too, so that you can kind of keep having that one-on-one time after each series, each possession, whatever.
Right. Because as the O-line coach, he had me on the field, so that way I could talk to whoever. Our OC was in the box 1 year, and then he came to the field for that reason. He was a sophomore quarterback at the time, and same reason. Like, hey, the OC will be on the field. He can talk to the quarterback. I'll talk to the O-line. And then when the quarterback would go away from the OC, I could kind of not tell him what to do any different. Just be like, hey, how you feeling? How's it going? That type of thing. You know, be that psychiatrist on the field. I'm not qualified to be, but you kind of have to be, which is fine. But head coach hasn't even asked me if I'm going to be on the field, but I'll be on the field. I'll be like, hey, I'm on the
field. That'll be one of those closed door meetings that you have with him when you put your foot down.
Yeah, he hasn't asked me that. He hasn't said, I'm going to be like, no, I'm on the field. Trust me. I'm going to tell him to put the wide receivers coach up in the box. Just go up there.
Yeah.
Because I told them all their jobs too. Like, hey, your job is coverage, what the receivers are doing. Can we run on the perimeter? Running backs coach, I'm going to ask him a lot. Like, hey, what are you seeing in the box? O-line coach, definitely what you're seeing in the box. And I'll try to watch everything. But I want 2 guys looking at the box because I said my eyes are going to go straight to the box because I'm so used to it for the past years of like what this is going on. But how we're going to do the offense this year anyway, I have to be on the field.
Yeah.
I think. Because we were a no-huddle team for a while, and then last year was a mixture of being in a huddle, then we just kind of let the O-line huddle with the quarterback, get the play, because the receivers knew it.
Gotcha.
We're gonna be younger at the wide receiver spots, so we're gonna start off in the summer huddling up, but they'll see the signals, so we can eventually get to that.
Yeah.
There's also a school here in Illinois called Rochester. Coach Derek Leonard has won 8 or 9 state titles in the last 12 years or something like that.
Yeah.
He screams it from the sideline. Nothing's signaled in. It's just screamed in.
That's awesome.
So there's going to be that part where I can just scream it in because we'll have names for the play. So I don't care if the defense hears it. Like I could care less.
Yeah.
You know, if a play's called Illinois, like I don't care. They know the formation. If you're like spread Illinois, like I could care less if they hear that. Especially if your pass game has an RPO or something on it. I really could care less if they know it. And in high school, am I going to trust that 16-year-old kid remembers that play from the first quarter to the fourth quarter if I only run it so many times? No, they're not going to.
I mean, also, if they're thinking about that, I mean, the old Chip Kelly philosophy is that if they're thinking about what you're doing, they're not thinking about what their assignment is either. So
right, because I'm like, yeah, the adult on the sideline on the other side will know it. Like if you're the DC, you would know it. You'd be like, hey, Illinois is double slants and a vert hitch, whatever. Like, but do you think that 16-year-old kid is gonna?
Yeah,
it's gonna click. He's thinking about, all right, we're in this. I'm supposed to read the guard, but if this guy motions here, I got to do this. Like, so I could care less. So there's going to be a multitude of ways that I can do it. So I'll have to be on the sideline, I think, for that. I hope, because if I go to the box, you better give me a punching bag because I like to move around. I pace. Like I pace. I'm moving. I'm always talking.
Make sure the headsets don't get caught up with the other frequency.
Yes. I also the only reason why he'll send me to the box is I have a move with the refs. It's not working much anymore, but it used to. If I wanted to complain about the refs, I would. And if they ever said anything, I'm like, no, I'm talking into the headset because I'd have it down. I'm like, I'm not even talking to you. I'm talking on the headset. And I think 2 years ago, finally, a ref goes, I know what you're doing. Stop. And I was like, all right, I got it.
He's been around you long enough.
Well, then the big one that stopped me was, believe it or not, it was a Thursday night game. And we had a refereeing crew that was about to go do a game at Indiana that weekend. Okay. So they came and did it. The first time I tried it, he turned around. He goes, I refed in college. Don't even do it. It's like, yep, you got
it. Hands off. I'm backing away.
Yeah, I was like, yep, you're right. And it's like O-line coaches, we get fiery on the sideline. It's okay. Last year I was really good. The head coach was so proud. He's like, you didn't do anything. And I was like, nah. I said, because in Illinois we have a ref shortage. Like, okay. There were some baseball games I coached where we had to umpire it ourselves because there was no umpire. Like the coaches had to do it, stuff like that.
Really?
So I made the conscious decision this year in every single sport to not, unless it's egregious, unless it's something so bad that I'm not going to say a word. And I think I only said a word one time to a ref in football because they picked up on my lineman and slammed him and all this stuff, and I freaked out, and that was it. Every other time, I'm like, whatever. Like, fight through the hold. It's not like whatever. If it's a hold, get your hands inside. I didn't do anything. Yeah. Basketball for sure. Basketball, I get a tech once a year. This year, I didn't even get a warning. Nothing. I didn't do it. And then softball, I never do because that's such a hard job. I'm like, I'm not going to argue balls and strikes. Like,
they deal with parents enough. So
my philosophy is if I can't do it, I'm not going to say anything. Like, I feel like I could ref football. I feel like I could ref basketball. Softball and baseball, no. Like, I can't do it. Why am I going to argue? If they tell me a rule, like the reason why this happened, if they have a reasoning for it, I'm like, cool. You have a reasoning. I agree with you. Sorry, another rabbit hole there, but it was.
It's funny, that's for sure.
So you're the OC at North Alabama. You're working for Coach Dearman, which he made a name for himself. Running Gus's stuff that he learned at Auburn. Now, obviously, he has his own tweaks and spin on some things. You worked with him the first time. How long did it take to learn what he wanted to do when you're in the spot? How closely do you two work together on offense? Is it the same stuff? Are you allowed to kind of do what you want to do that fits into it? Like, how does that work with a guy like him being the head coach?
Well, I mean, Coach Dearman's a phenomenal offensive mind. I mean, as you already said, I mean, he definitely made his name. He made his name really at Arkansas Tech when he came out with his Evolution of the RPO book. And then that year that we were at Bethel in 2018 when, I mean, we had the high scoring offense in the nation at all levels. It really kind of put him on the map in a sense. And then he was able to transition to a couple of other offensive coordinator spots, of course, in the Big 12 and then the Conference USA at two different spots. Because of that, I mean, he's very well involved offensively. I mean, it is his baby. He's basically what I get to do is I just kind of I am a phenomenal assistant to him on helping get the things across that he wants to get across. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, Coach Dearman's he's going to call plays. I mean, that's just who he is. He is an offensive-minded guy, is an up-tempo guy, and he is going to call the plays.
Okay.
I'm going to be his right-hand advisor in that sense. I'm going to try to help him think of a next play ahead. I'm going to be the guy that helps manage the staff for him, offensive side of it, so that he can manage the entire football staff, so that he don't have to worry just necessarily about one specific side of the ball. So I'll handle making sure the breakdowns and the assistant responsibilities are taken care of for him. Kind of, I guess you could say, me working for him in 2018, and then I stayed on at Bethel. My second year at Bethel, I was the tight ends coach there, and the guy that took over as offense coordinator was Kevin Weavers, who was here last 2 years, is now the offense coordinator at Arkansas Tech. And then when Kevin went to Kansas, then I transitioned to offensive coordinator at Bethel, and kind of my relationship with Coach Dearman and kind of how I view him as kind of a big mentor in my life. I pretty much transitioned the entire way. I ran the offense at Bethel the entire way that he ran the offense with us in 2018. So kind of understanding how he does things. There's things that I tweaked a little differently here and there, of course, just because of whether it be personnel, whether it be, who I am, and that I'm not the same person as Coach Dearman. But at the same time, when we got here, and since I've taken over with the title of offensive coordinator, my job is really just being able to make sure that I see whatever vision he has for the offense gets put into play, becomes a reality. And as far as he's changed over the last probably 6 or 7 years. He's evolved a lot more in the passing game. Gus has always been known as a play action, run the ball guy. He's had RPOs tied into it, but not heavily RPO. He in the last few years he's become more of an RPO guy, but Dearman's definitely been that. But Dearman has definitely evolved in the passing game side of it. And so being able to transition from the passing game into being able to take the shots, the normal shots that he takes with all the run play action that we do, that's going to be my job, is really just being able to think one step ahead of him, making sure that he can just continually flow in the call of the game. So kind of what you could think of is who's going to be the guy with you on your staff that is kind of seeing the trends and the tendencies of what they're doing and kind of where you are on the field for the landmark shots, all those things. That guy that's going to be in your ear saying, hey, you're right hash here. You got this shot on the play sheet that and knowing what the game plan is, for each week, it's going to change depending on what scheme we're seeing defensively. Me being able to really say, all right, hey, this is what we plan for all week. You've got this right here and so forth. So really just kind of keeping him on track, because at the end of the day, as well as I do from a guy that called it on the field, when you get heavily in the flow of things, kind of what you thought of game plan wise gets tweaked in game because of the flow of the game. And so being able to keep him on track and keep him in what we thought of, and then being able to adapt to that as we see in flow and in game scenarios. Because heck, you have a whole game plan come to fruition, and on Saturday for us, all of a sudden you're down to your third string quarterback. Well, he's not near as good of a runner as the guy that you game plan for all year. So how we tweaking that, how we adjusting the game plan to meet that. I always go back to my first year as a head coach. I had an old lieutenant colonel in the Tennessee National Guard tell me, he was one of our booster club members, and he told me, he said, man, you got to have a plan for battle. He said a plan is always good until the first bullet's fired. And then when that first bullet's fired, it always has to adapt and change and evolve. So
right.
That's kind of going to be my role with him this year.
I'm glad you explained that, because an example is I'm a Bears fan, unfortunately, I guess, but I am a Bears fan. And they hire Ben Johnson. And of course, the big question is who's calling plays? How can he call plays being a head coach of an NFL team? So he hires a guy to be the OC. So the question is this guy calling plays? And Ben Johnson's like, no, I'm calling plays. Yep. So it becomes, what's this guy's role? So it becomes that argument on Twitter, I guess, where like, oh no, blah, 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 and, like what's the role? So it's okay, because when you hear OC, you think of one thing, you think of another, but
100%.
About how heavily you are involved in the offense, you are technically like a co-OC if you're trying to keep them ahead. Like, hey, these are the plays that are open.
100%. I mean, and I've always been the type, Steve, that I've never been a title hungry guy in the sense and wanting more than what is needed for us to be successful. And I know I've seen Coach Dearman call the plays at Bethel, and when Coach Dearman's own calling plays and doing what he loves doing, he is one of the best in the country. He really is. And so I told him that when Coach Weavers left to go to Arkansas Tech, when I told him, I said, man, I'll do whatever you need me to do to help us be successful, and that's win ball games. Because I mean, at the end of the day, when you win, when this program wins, then I get to keep my job and I get to provide for my family. So, so I'm a huge organizational guy. I'm also the director of football ops, so I handle all the travel, I handle all the meals, I handle I'm just a huge organizational guy, and so that's kind of Coach Dearman kind of put me in that role from the offensive side of it, just to really organize and help keep things on track, us offensively as a staff, so that at the end of the day, he knows that when we get together as a game plan, we put together a game plan, and we go on to Saturday, that everything's taken care of. All he has to do is really show up and be ready to call plays. So
right. Which at the high school level, I wish we could have, but you can't.
You're exactly right.
I have to do it. Then you call the play. Like,
yes, sir. You take you and you divide it in half, and that's me and Coach Dearman.
Yes. Yes. But because at the high school level, I was the O-line guy, but the coach was like, you're the run game guy. So your job is to mirror it up with everything else with the offense coordinator. So on a Friday night, it was like just me and him. So technically kind of the same thing of like, hey, I'll make sure all this is good. You make sure the pass game's good. I got to make sure the pass protection's good. So I was that. So now I got to find my guy now. Like, but we're young. It's a young staff in certain positions. So
it'd be good growing opportunities for sure. I mean, it's great opportunity for that staff with you to be able to kind of find out who you are and start being an extension of you,
Unless I'm an asshole again, then we got to figure that part out. Tell me what, when I was the young OC, Steve was not the nicest person but again, other reasons built onto that. But the thing is, I've coached like the wide receivers coach. He's been a freshman coach for us for a while, so I already know who he is. Yeah. Like I said, the O-line guy played there. He helped us out the first year last year, did stats for us. I already know who he is. Already since that meeting, he's like, hey, here's my terminology I want to use. What do you think? So he's already like, boom, boom, boom. And so that's all good. Running backs coach, obviously he has his playing experience that he'll feed off of. And, he's good. He's like, hey, he's already said, whatever you want, I'm here for, like whatever. So I think he'll be good. And then you got the head coach who's going to make sure that everything is like a well-oiled machine, make sure we're all doing that, make sure that we're organized and all that. Because he's a psychology teacher. He has to be organized. It has to be.
He sure does.
He wants things planned out ahead of time. So like everything's done Sunday, Monday morning. Like we're all planned out. We're good to go. He doesn't want to wait till Tuesday. Like, what are we doing in practice today? Like it should already be good to go. Okay, so sorry, sometimes my mind draws a blank. My mind is. I'm getting old. I tell people, like, I know 34 is not old, but like I'm also like I've been coaching for 15 years, so my brain is a little fried when it comes to.
Yeah, it goes on different paths without you even wanting to go on different paths. That's for sure.
It happens in almost every conversation. I'll be like, "What'd you say?" Because my mind is like. especially at home. I'll tell you what, I never used to use the calendar on my phone. I started doing that like 2 months ago. My wife tells me something. I'm like, oh, hold on a second. Can you repeat that? Because I got to put it down and then do it on my Google Calendar on my computer. And I'm like, okay. Then I open up my computer and be like, all right, I got to put it on there. Because if I don't, I will forget.
Yep.
Because now we're having the baby appointments and stuff, so I got to make sure all that's good. And
yes, sir.
I'm like, what about your softball schedule? I'm like, all right, let me pull out my Google Calendar. And I'm like, oh, I got a game every day. don't worry about it. That's the only thing with softball I will say. I like it. It's just the weather. Like football, I love because no matter what, football is pretty much set in stone. Like your practices are this time.
Yep.
You practice in the rain. Like none of that happens. When you're in basketball, it just depends on your games. Like one week you have 2 games, next week you have 3 or 4. Softball, you could be like, I have a game Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Wednesday hits, it's raining, so now it's canceled. Now I got to have practice. But then you're fighting for indoor space with like 5 other sports teams. So now it's like, well, I practice until 7 at night, so now I got to wait. But it's fun. And because there's no strategy in the game, you're just kind of like adjusting their swing and stuff. It's so different than like basketball and football. Your X's and O, and you're trying to do this.
Yeah.
Softball, baseball, you're like, swing. You got to swing.
Hit the ball. Catch the ball.
Hit the ball. You said you studied in like religious studies and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
Do you have like a role with anything like that? Because I know football staffs, they have a guy always that's doing that. Is there like a role for that on your team? Do you do that with players?
I handle all of our weekly devotions that we do during the season, our game day devotions. I handle those. Sometimes I'll get some people to come in, whether we've had some former alumni come speak. We've had we've got one of our campus ministers that'll come speak at different times, but for the most part, I handle those. And Coach Dearman also does a little bit. He loves doing a lot of things during the springtime, but from really summer through fall, I handle a lot of the devotional side of it for our guys, and the ministry side of it. I've connected us really well to our campus minister on campus, and he comes out to practice once or twice a week during season, so that guys have that availability when they need it. But yes, sir, that's all. So if you my job description is pretty long, from the offensive coordinator to director of football ops to tight ends coach to organizing campus ministries too. So.
And that's just the top part. Probably not. There's probably way more than you're like.
That's the stuff that's put on the website.
But when you really break it down, you're like, I got to do all this paperwork that you don't even know about.
That's exactly right.
If Coach Dimmer doesn't want to go to a meeting, I got to go do it. Like,
yes, sir. And then I got to meet with Coach Dimmer about what that meeting was about.
Right. You're having it twice. You're like, I got to tell him what happened.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then you got to get told, well, you didn't ask this question in the meeting? Come on, man.
Then I have to send an email to find out the answer.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Well, how hard was that that degree for that? Because just recently, like, I'm trying to get back into all that stuff of religion and all that stuff, because I kind of did it in high school, and I was telling, I don't know, Coach Hines, he's on Twitter. He and I sometimes. He's big into all that stuff. And I told him, like, because when I was in high school, that wasn't a cool thing, right? That's not cool. And, you're an athlete. Like, that's just kind of what it was.
Yeah.
So I kept it quiet. Like, you go to church, you do this, you do that. And then you go to college and it kind of disappears because you're in college and, that's not the thing. So just recently trying to get back. And I started to realize, I don't know any of this. This is really hard. That's got to be one of the hardest majors if you're studying all that, because I don't know what that is. I don't know understand.
It was, I'll say this. So I started out as a thought my freshman year I was just going to be a math teacher, football coach. So I majored in math, and then between my freshman and sophomore year, I really got convicted to get into the ministry. And when I was 12 or 13, actually when I was 12 at a youth conference in Smyrna, Tennessee, I accepted the call to ministry. Didn't know what it was going to be. Didn't know if it was going to be youth pastor, preacher, whatever. But I got really heavily convicted between my freshman and sophomore year of college. And so I changed my minor to religion. I majored in math and changed my minor to religion. Well, it was during that fall of my sophomore year that I got the opportunity. I took one of my religion classes was philosophy. I took intro to philosophy. And so I took intro to philosophy, and my philosophy professor ended up being the guy that my oldest son, my second child, is named after. He became a huge mentor to me. He ended up being a guy that I was a youth pastor at his church, the inner music minister at his church while I was in college. But because of that, I got heavily involved in apologetics, defending the faith. And so I changed my major. From then, I changed it to a double major of religion and philosophy. And the hardest part of the major really was taking Hebrew. I took 4 semesters of Hebrew and learning Hebrew. And of course, I didn't grow up in Judaism. And so I didn't get to learn Hebrew from an early age. And so by the time I ended my 4th semester of Hebrew, it was literally me and the professor were the only 2 in the class. So he knew if I was not in class. And so we just had dialogue left and right, and he was a great guy. But I'll tell you, it was tough now. It was tough learning how to read right to left and learning how to read without any consonants. And it was a lot of memorization. And that was probably the hardest part of the degree, was learning Hebrew. So.
I'm dumb enough in English. I don't know if I could.
I know. I'll sometimes in my position meetings, just to let my guys know that I'm not just a dumb football coach. I'll say, hey, what's this word right here? And I'll write a Hebrew word on the board, and then I'll read it to them, and then they'll get all flabbergasted because I remembered one word from Hebrew. I couldn't go in depth with Hebrew anymore, but I mean, it's been 20 years, but I pull out one word every now and then just to let them know Coach Cruce still's got some stuff left in the tank.
Oh yeah, no, I had no smarts to show them. I got nothing. I am a dumb football coach. I am the definition of I don't know any other languages. I don't know anything like that. The only thing cool, they're like, man, you draw the plays really fast. And I'm like, yeah, because this is easy. That's the only smarts I have is that. Or, that's not it.
But you're specialized in it. So that's a good thing. I mean, you're very well versed in it. When I was taking, I had to take 54 hours combined between philosophy and religion to get my double major. And so when I was very well versed in it, I mean, I was writing it up on the board as fast as I could write up plays. But when you step away from it for a little while, it becomes a little bit more brain racking to try to get to remember.
Oh, because our school has some Spanish kids. And so I'm like, they can speak English, of course, but sometimes they have conversations in Spanish, and I'm like, what did you do? I'm like, hola, ¿cómo estás?
Gracias. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Our honeymoon was in Cancun, and that's what, like, it was real funny. My wife is a BCBA, so she works with kids with autism and wide range. Like, she's in control of the therapists. And
my wife's a special education teacher. So
okay, yeah. So she has some families that are Spanish speaking, and some, not her job now, but the one before, she'd had to have a translator. So she picked up on some. So when we went to Cancun, the first thing to, like, you walk up and she's like, hola, ¿cómo estás? And the person's like, hola, ¿cómo estás? So, like, ask her how she is, and she goes, bien, A2. And I'm looking at him like, what? So the person thought she could speak Spanish. So she starts going on and she goes, El Pucano, like, I don't speak much.
just a little bit.
Just to say, hi, how are you? I'm good. Or how are you? And then, like,
She could have
She
said,
knows some.
"Donde está la biblioteca?" Anchorman.
I know we were going down there. I'm like, I need to know the word food, bathroom. Like, I don't. But the people that work there could speak English, and I was like, oh, thank goodness, because this would be real bad if you could not.
When did you go to an all-inclusive resort down there?
Yes.
So we went. Did they put you? Did you have like a concierge or a person that was kind of labeled to you, that was like your help person as far as helping you get the reservations in the restaurants where you wanted to go or whatever? Did they use WhatsApp? Because
no, I don't think so.
That's what they used for us. My wife and I went, I guess, maybe 3 summers ago, and our concierge, or whatever they're called, was he put us in WhatsApp. So we text him all our reservations and everything we wanted through it. So
no, you did. So the reservations you did on your own, but they were there if you wanted to go outside of the resort. So the resort itself, there were some restaurants with no reservation. Some did. You just did it on your own. But they were there if you wanted to go do something else.
Okay.
And so you could call them from the phone in the room, I think is what it was.
Where did y'all go? In
it was called Breathless Riviera, I think.
Okay.
Just an all-inclusive resort. There was like 3 pools. You had they called it the quiet one. So the quiet one was the first one. That was like the old people. And then the middle 2 were like the party ones. The middle one was the big one.
Yeah.
We were on the third one, which was quieter, but still. When I say quieter, I mean music didn't start till 10 a.m. So there was times where like you're sleeping or you're just hanging out, all of a sudden you hear doots, 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 and we look out and we're like, oh. You're just looking out there like, oh, okay.
It's getting cranked up.
Then you walk to the middle one and it's really like, dude, and people are, it's 10 a.m. and you're like, oh. Okay, so we'd stay in ours for a while, and then once in a while you just venture off to the middle one, see what it's like, and then you realize, oh, these people are crazy. And then you go back to the other one. And if you went to the quiet one, it was super quiet. So once in a while you just hang out there just to like chill, and then you're like, oh, it's too quiet. Then you got to go back.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But yeah, no, it was just to get you off. So we only left the resort once to go swim with the dolphins. My wife really wanted to do that.
That's cool.
And then once we left, though, you get to the front gate and you see the guys with the machine guns guarding the place, and you're driving down and the police are in military stuff, and you're like, oh, so this is why you don't leave. Like you stay in that resort. You don't go.
You're safe in the confines of the resort.
Because that was our first all-inclusive thing ever, and so we're never not going to do that. If we ever go somewhere, we're like, it has to be all-inclusive. That was a game changer.
Yeah.
And we felt uncomfortable. The first night you go eat and you just felt uncomfortable because the waiter comes over, what do you want? You tell them what you want, they bring it to you, and then it's like, what else do you want? And blah, 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 and like this, and that. And it's just so weird to just go up wherever you want and just ask what you want, get what you want. But I will say this, there was one late night, this guy brings out this cooking thing and starts making fresh tacos right there from Mexico.
Really?
You're like, oh my gosh. And you go up and get them, and you're like, this is awesome. Because they always had something. There was some show every night. Every night there was something. And only 2 nights we were there did they make those tacos outside. We missed it the first time. So the second time we were like, I don't care what time it is. We are
we're finding the taco guy.
So it was like 1 a.m. and we made sure to go back. We were like,
yeah.
We became friends with a couple from Nebraska, and they sent us a message like, it's time. And we're like, okay.
You had to look out. That's awesome.
We had to look out. All we did was get a message saying it's time. And we were like, all right, let's go.
That's awesome.
Except my wife did get sick one day, so we thought she had some of the water. Like she was like throwing up and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not good. And she was down for like a whole day. Wow. And there was me, like I was fine. I was like, oh, well.
Did you leave her in the room and go to the big pool?
So I wasn't going to. I sat in the room, and had my iPad, you're all good. And she was like, no, go do something because So I was like, you gave me permission, so Zoom. I was like, don't worry, I'll go to the pool. I hung out with the couple we met. I was like, I'll go down there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And he was a big Nebraska football fan. I'm an Illinois fan, so we didn't butt heads, but he was like, y'all
had good constructive dialogue.
Well, then I got mad because Illinois was going to Nebraska that year. So he said, hey, you guys should come and we'll go to the game. It's an awesome environment. And I was like, yes, I have a football game that Friday night. They play Saturday. We'll just drive there in the morning. It's all good.
Yeah.
My Friday night football game got moved to a Saturday going into the season. So I was like, I can't go. I was like, I said the year before I had a wedding and missed a game. I can't be doing that for a football game.
For a college football game.
So I was like, I can't go. And I was super upset because that's on my bucket list is to go to like a Nebraska game because I know they're always sold out and packed. And
yeah.
I was so mad.
Have you kept in touch with the Nebraska people?
Once in a while, we kind of did. And then you kind of, they have two kids out.
Should have for that rain check on the tickets.
Yeah. If Illinois goes back to Nebraska, I will say like, hey, Oh no, what was it? It wasn't my game. No, Illinois, they moved the game to Friday night. That's what it was. My game was Friday night. Nebraska moved their game to, or Fox, whatever, moved it to Friday night. That's what it was. Which I hate. I hate college football on a Friday night. It has to be Saturday through Thursday. It can't be Friday night.
Yeah.
Because I try to watch all you guys. If you like, after talking, I try to watch North Alabama this year. Anytime it was on, I was like, I got to watch it. Anytime I talk to somebody. So I've had so many coaches on here, and she's like, I got the TV on. I got 2 computers on. She goes, what do you do? I was like, well, I got to keep up with these coaches. I got to watch their seasons. And like,
that's exactly right.
Because you guys were on TV one time this year early on. I can't remember who you guys played.
Yeah, we were on for the first game against SEMO, Southeastern Missouri.
That's what it was. SEMO, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So she's like, who are you watching? I was like, North Alabama, SEMO. No offense. She's like, who are these guys? Because she only knows.
Yeah.
She knows. I watch Illinois, but then she also knows Alabama and stuff. But like, because she does not sit there and watch football. Like if it's on, she's doing something else, But like, she goes, who are you watching? I said that, and I was like, yeah, but I talked to their defense coordinator, so I got to watch it.
I'm invested in this game. I'm invested in this game.
She's like, can you just watch it on your computer? And I was like, I guess. Because I try to. Whoever I talk to, like talking to you, yeah, I'll try to watch. If it's on where I can watch it, I'm going to watch it. Because I like Brett Dearmon's offense. I like to see the tweaks. And then, like, knowing you guys, like, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
100%. And see if I can't steal something, like. Because our head coach loved Gus's offense and stuff like that. So when I tell him that I talk to people that have connections to the offense, he goes, you better pick something up from it because because he loves having like a fullback right there. He loves buck sweep. He loves this. So he's like, you better watch it. Yeah. And then I told him, I was like, I think Brett Dearmon's evolved a little bit from some of that though. So we may not get some. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, if you watch it, they're passing it a little more now, and there's RPOs in it. And he's like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, babe. Well, I'll tell you, that's one thing that, I'll say in the last 2 years, we've kind of decided that we haven't run the ball as well as we wanted to, and so that's been a big emphasis for us this spring. Has been making sure that we can run the ball and be a lot more effective running the ball. Now we've had some games where we've rushed the ball pretty well, but all in all, as a whole, we haven't been as very good offensively running like we would like to. And so that's been a heavy emphasis for this spring. So hopefully this fall, it's a little bit more Gus-like-ish where we're really effective running the ball. So,
well, Coach, I've taken all your time. I'm going to end it with a Brent Dearmon story.
Okay.
And it's not a good one. I just loved it. When he was at Arkansas Tech was when he came out with that Evolution RPO. It was only on the iPad. I'm a broke college kid, so I saw he came out with it. And I remember he put it on Twitter, and I sent him a message. And I said, Coach, it looks I was like, he'll never see this, right? But I sent a message. I was like, Coach, this looks awesome. One day when I get the money, I'm going to get it. Don't you worry. But it looks awesome, like from the previews.
Yeah.
By God, 10 minutes later, sends me a message, and he was like, "Hey, what's your email, or what's this, what's that?" And I give it to him, and he goes, "Hey, here's a free copy of the book. Don't tell my wife that, though. Like, here it is." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So it like popped up on the iPad for free because it was only on Apple or whatever. And he's like, "Here you go." And I'm like, "Oh my God!" And I still have it to this day, with like, you know. And I was like, "This is awesome! What an awesome person to just say like, here you go." Like,
100%.
That's my only Brett Dearman story. It's
Like,
the only.
I mean, it's very evident of who he is, man. I'll tell you. We do a coaching clinic every year, and even when he goes and speaks at clinics or whatever, like his big thing is that he wants us to be an open book, and that's the way we all are. I mean, even when you had Coach Carabow on the show, he's the same way. I mean, that's just who we are as a staff. Like, we don't try to. He doesn't really want to try to hide anything. He wants people to be able to grow and learn. And I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we all feel the same way about football. I mean, everything good has either been stolen or replicated. So,
right.
I mean, it's we want to help out as many people as we can. And that story right there is definitely evident of kind of who Dearman is. I mean, we have coaches come in all the time and they just sit in, and then we send them cut ups and we send them things. With our coaches clinic, all the coaches that come, they get a whole Google Drive link of every position coach and even Coach Dearman, where they've got probably 50 hours worth of videos of drill tape and practice tape and stuff like that, where coaches can go back and look at stuff. So
yeah. Well, and I'm looking through my old DMs to see if he did anything else. He did that, and then I remember sending him a message because I had just started coaching quarterbacks. I remember sending him a message saying, "Hey, do you have any cool quarterback drills?" He goes, "What's your huddle?" And here's my huddle, and he sends clips when he was at Arkansas Tech, and I'm like, "Wow!" And then he sends a message following up. He's like, "Did you get it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got it." And that's what it said. And this was back in 2017. Wow, like it was a long time ago.
That's crazy.
Then I've tried to get him on here before, but he became big time. So it became like,
he's not like us lowly people, man.
I tried to get him on here a couple times and hasn't worked out. He like once that happened, and people were like, "Oh, he coached at Auburn," and then all of a sudden it was like he blew up, and now he's a big star. He won't come on the Coach Steve show. It's all good.
I'll give him a hard time tomorrow at staff meeting.
He won't even know who you're talking about. He'll be like, "Who the hell are you talking about?"
I'll say, "You've left this guy on red forever in your DMs."
He has, but I'm okay. I don't take it personal. I'm like, you guys are so busy. When I started this, I said, what's the worst that's going to happen? They don't answer. Nobody answers. They say they can't do it. They say no. Yeah. Or the other answer I get is, let me check with my head coach to see if I'm allowed to. Like, that's the other one I get, which is fine. I'm like, any of those answers is fine with me. I don't care. I do not care.
Yeah.
Now, when I first started, I cared. I took it personal at first. I was like, oh, they said no?
I would never ask. I unfollow.
Well, I started this, and then COVID happened. So at the beginning, I thought I was doing real good because there's nothing else to do, right? Like, yeah, COVID.
100%.
When COVID was done, then that's where it became like, no, I can't do it. You got to check with my head coach, or they just wouldn't answer.
Yeah.
And I will say this, though. I would say not 85% of the time is yes. Yeah. 85% of the time. Whether we work it out or not, that's on me because my schedule is so like all over the place.
Chaotic. Yeah, 100%.
And I know better than to send you guys messages from August to like January. I know better.
Yeah.
After January.
Your schedule too.
I know better. I'm like, spring, cool. Summer, cool. End of July, no. Like from then on, I just can't do it.
Yep. You're exactly right, man.
Oh, Coach, I appreciate you coming on here so much.
Man, I appreciate you having me on. It's a good time talking, just kind of chit-chatting a little bit, getting to kind of talk a little bit of ball, talk a little bit of life, and it was a good time, brother.